Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's FPA Virtual Lounge featuring our awesome, interactive, really popular political science program. My name is Stanley Philippe. I am a recruitment officer here at Carleton University. And if you're tuning in tonight, I think it's because you've got a good feeling about our poli-sci department and you want to check in on that. You want to see if your instincts are correct. And I have a really good feeling that you will in fact enjoy what you're about to hear from our department. And one of the coolest things about tonight's event is the fact that you get a chance to really have your voice heard. So what I want you to do is utilize our Q&A function. We've got folks from our undergraduate recruitment team, and most importantly, members of the political science department here to answer your questions. And you're going to hear from two people that have a really great perspective that you're going to want to tune into in a second. So please get those questions in, and we'll do our best to answer them either live or throughout tonight's event. So what we're going to be able to do tonight is hear, again, from two awesome folks. One is a professor here at Carleton University, and the other is a current student. So you really get kind of both sides of the coin, so to speak, but they're both kind of tied to that awesome, again, political science program. So without further ado, I know you are not here to see me. You are definitely here to see and hear again from members of our poli-sci faculty. So to start things off, I'd like to invite Aaron Edinger, who is a professor in political science and who's going to be teaching hopefully many of you next year to hop on the live and to say a few words about the program. So Professor Edinger, the screen will be yours shortly.
Hi, everybody. Welcome from wherever you are. My name is Aaron Edinger, and I'm a professor in the Department of Political Science. I'm relatively new to the department as well. And I'm very excited to be here to talk about what is absolutely positively my favorite class ever to teach, P-Sci, Political Science 1200, which is a big sort of sweeping introduction to global politics. Oh, I love it because I have geared it to be a big kind of case study of the present moment, right? The contemporary crises in world politics that we are all watching on our screens and living through day to day. It speaks to my interest because I've always been interested in history, big history and world politics. I've come to specialize in American foreign policy, and well, the last 4 years or so have really given us an interesting taste of what world politics in an age of crisis is all about. And that is the theme for that course, World Order in an Age of Crisis. It's basically about all of these big overlapping crises and problems that we're facing today, how we got to this point, and where we might be going in the future. As somebody who specializes in American foreign policy, much of it is undertaken from the perspective of the United States as the kind of the big center point in world politics, which has been the case for the last, 75 or 80 years, maybe even more. But here we are, it's 2020, and we're asking ourselves big questions that have enormous implications for how world politics is going to work over the next 10, 20 years or so. Is the United States a power in decline? And if it is, should we worry? And what are the implications of all of these crises for the American-led world order? Right? How will all of these overlapping crises related to COVID and climate change and war and the rise of China and trade disputes, how are these all going to shape the future of the world that we live in? And of course, the key question to it all is, can we still solve global problems? I think we can. But I think in order to understand how to solve those problems, we have to appreciate all of the nitty-gritty of how we got here in order to assess where we might be going. That's in broad strokes what I want our first year course to be like. And I revisit it at the start of every single year. What can I update? What new topics can I introduce? I want this very much to be, a living course that is responsive to the immediate issues of the moment, with all kinds of political science, education, conceptual vocabulary woven in there. Now, I also am fully aware that these classes need to be useful in some kind of a way. And I've designed a class that I think hits on 4 really important, positive markers, right? So what is this class good for? I mean, first, the one that's closest to my heart is a literacy in global issues, right? Giving everybody the vocabulary needed to make sense of world politics. And making sense of this complex world is, an important thing, not just as citizens of this country or of whatever country you're in, but as, citizens of this world. It's our responsibility to understand. It also helps to learn how to be persuasive. So I'll put you through the ringer, making you learn how to write and speak persuasively. And as we're discovering this year, learn how to present online persuasively. And if you can be persuasive, you are going to go very, very far in this world. I can promise you that. And the 4th pillar here is all about getting a good foundation for future study in political science or any other discipline. But if you choose to stick with political science, my class will give you an outstanding foundation in all of our various fields: international relations, Canadian politics, political theory, policy studies, comparative politics. They all basically rest on the same foundation of persuasiveness, conceptual vocabulary, and a certain kind of know-how about how the world works, or as we're discovering in 2020, how the world doesn't work. Those are the kinds of questions that I like to engage with from day one, all the way through to the end of November of your first year and well into your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th years. That's my story. And of course, this class PSI 1200 evolves with the times, and I can tell you that the times that we are living in are the perfect times in which to study political science and especially world politics. That's me. We can talk more in the Q&A, but I would like to turn it over to a current student, James Prowse, who's a 3rd-year student majoring in political science. He specializes in international relations, and when he's not doing that, he's a professional political staffer. So, James, why don't you tell everybody about your experience as a political science student at Carleton University?
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you. My name is James Prowse, and I'm a 3rd-year political science student with a minor in law and legal studies. I specialize in international relations, and I'm going to answer a couple of broad questions before answering any questions that you may have. So the most important question is why, or what should I know before coming to university? And or an important lesson. And I would say that you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but one of the most important things I wish I knew before coming into university was how big of a change it is from high school. I wish I knew that plans change as well, and that things don't always work out how they were planned out to be. I would advise any student interested in Carleton political science, or any student interested in pursuing an undergraduate degree, to follow the path that your degree takes you on rather than the path that you think you have set out for yourself. It will be a lot more of a rewarding experience that way. Another important question is, why did I choose the Faculty of Public Affairs, Political Science at Carleton University? And I didn't actually come to Carleton University to study political science originally. I came to study public affairs and policy management, which for anyone interested in political science is a equally great, awesome degree program that I would encourage you to look into. But I switched after the first semester for a couple reasons, and I haven't looked back since. I believe switching into political science was the best decision that I could have made, and I've enjoyed every single day. the program so far. Of significance as to why I chose Carleton Political Science is, of course, the capital connection. There is no better place to study politics than Ottawa itself, with great co-op, internship, work opportunities on Parliament Hill, in the public services, in the diplomatic corps, and in emerging private sector businesses that are looking to bring students on. And since starting at Carleton, as Professor Edinger mentioned, I've been brought on as a political staff member, both in the provincial government. I've also worked for a federal member of parliament. I've also had exciting opportunities to work on a national leadership campaign for a political party. So all sorts of opportunities I've had the chance to participate in since starting at Carleton. There's never a boring day here in Ottawa. And beyond the tons of opportunities for work and co-op in Ottawa, it's also just a great context for developing and fostering a strong network of professional connections, something that's incredibly important in today's job market once you graduate and once you're trying to establish yourself during your degree program. Political science at Carleton and the faculty are also world class. So whether you're interested in political theory, international relations, or Canadian politics, Carleton has a variety of well-researched and esteemed academics to help you foster your learning and your interests. I can say wholeheartedly that our professors are awesome. My favorite, looking back on my first year, my favorite first year class was PSI, Political Science 1200, which Professor Edinger teaches. I didn't have him. Or Laws 1002, which you will come to find out are large introductory classes that have sometimes upwards of 250 students. Both of the professors that I had were awesome, and the concepts in the class were really interesting. And it really provides you at the start of your degree a great opportunity to kind of figure out what interests you and maybe bringing on a minor and what other things you can do with your degree. Another thing that's important in your degree is being involved in extracurriculars. It's incredibly important in first year, especially as you're trying to establish yourself at a new school in a new city, in some cases trying to make friends and other connections. So whether you want to join a national political party or whether you want to join an intramural sports group, our clubs and societies at Carleton have an activity for everyone, no matter what your interests are. My personal favorite extracurricular activity actually was volunteering with the Ottawa Mission. It really gave me a chance to get off of campus and to explore the community, make some new friends from both Carleton and Ottawa U while doing something great and getting out there. So that's really concludes my formal remarks. I'm happy to take any questions from any of you watching, or I'll be sticking around for the event. I'm happy to chat with you after. I wish you all the best of luck in this decision that you have to make, choosing a university, and I hope to see you all at Carleton next year in our department. Thank you.
So James, there was a question that was asked a bit earlier about that first year course and how great Aaron made it sound, which is awesome. But also a follow-up to that was, what else can students take in their first year? So maybe you can describe it more of what your kind of, and I know you started off in public affairs and policy management, but what were some of your first year course selections like, and what would you advise a student going into political science in terms of crafting their first year course registration?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't, you're gonna have to excuse me. I can't remember what exactly courses are the requirements. I think first year was just political science 1100 and political science 1200, if I'm not mistaken. So those are your two courses. Most people in first year, when they come to start their degree, will take 5 courses a semester. Some take 4 courses a semester. I took 5. So besides those two kind of prerequisites that you have to do in your first year, you have 4 other kind of electives each semester, right? So I decided very early on that I wanted to minor in law. So I decided to not only fill up my timetable with electives in political science and in other courses, I decided to fill up my timetable with a lot of law courses. So I mean, I know people that have minored in sociology and psychology. So, if that's kind of your thing, you can fill up your timetable with those sorts of courses. So really beyond the first two anchor courses that you have to take in first year, you have great discretion in choosing what you want to do in terms of electives in your first year. I really enjoyed the flexibility of political science for that reason alone, and I get to kind of develop my own interests through my own learning and foster my degree and select the courses I choose based off of my own interest.
And if I may follow up on that, the courses that you take in political science at the first year are really quite diverse. And I think this is pretty unique for political science programs, at least as far as I know, insofar as you take both like big classes, with 200 or 300 students in the big lecture hall, but you also have an opportunity to take smaller seminar courses. So political science has those two big intro courses, such as the one that I teach, and there's another course about democracy in theory and practice, but there are also specialized first-year seminars targeted at specific issue areas. I'm looking at the offerings from this term about Brexit, about Indigenous politics, feminist politics, all intended to give students an opportunity to sit around a small table with their peers and with a professor and sort of hash things out in that format, which gives you a really nice counterpoint to the big lecture hall vibe. And that is really, really nice to have, because ordinarily you wouldn't get to sit around a round table until your fourth year. Here in political science at Carleton, you're sort of pushed out there right to the front of the stage to talk it out almost immediately. And for my money, that is the absolute best way to run a political science education.
And that might feed into another question that we had, and I know James referenced this as well, but the difference between political science and our public affairs and policy management program, these are two excellent ways of maximizing our location being in the nation's capital, but maybe you can build a bit more on what makes political science different from our PAPM degree.
Oh, sure. They're similar. I mean, they share a lot of similarities, the study of policy and the study of politics. I would say that policy studies are much more concentrated on the applied aspects of politics, right? How programs are developed and run in the real world. Political scientist is our political science also engages with the policy aspects, but is, I would say, a little bit more concerned with the sort of abstract, theoretical, and historical elements of it. Now, that doesn't mean to say that it is removed from reality, but I think there's a sort of a more theoretical and philosophical bent to it. Combining those two, the abstract and the practical concrete, is where the magic happens. And when to give you an example, in the class that I teach in 1200, Intro to World Politics, my students have due this Friday a paper that asks a pretty simple question: what is the most important issue in world politics, and how can we fix it? Right? That kind of big, broad combination of the abstract and the practical is what we do in political science, and it differs a little bit, but not a lot of it, from the policy studies side of things.
Now, there are a couple of questions that kind of, I think, connect to each other, where we started and where we're going. One question about jobs that political science students get when they graduate, but there was also a question about internships or co-op opportunities that are part of the program. And I think, that kind of, again, lends well to what students can do when they're done. So maybe you can speak a bit more on the co-op side of poli-sci, and then where you find our grads end up going when they finish.
Sure. Well, the co-op side, well, let me put it differently. Your students' opportunities to work and study at the same time are many in the political science program. There are co-op options that would send you off on a work term option, which would come into play, I believe, in the late second, early third year of your program. And the co-op opportunity there gives you an opportunity to seek out your own positions out there in the world and work that into your plan of study. There are also internship opportunities at the beginning in at the first year level, as well as other kind of study abroad programs that combine this work study dynamic together. I currently have a student in the internship program. Excuse me. We did a reading course over the summer, and she was very interested in human rights. And so I designed a curriculum especially for her where we read lots of recent literature on the subject matter, and that went hand in hand with an internship she had at the United Nations. Now, because of COVID, of course, she couldn't actually be there at the United Nations, but she was employed in this internship by a human rights subcommittee, and she did all sorts of research assistance work for that organization there, which sent her off in all directions studying Russian legal codes and other international regulations and rules, which, developed in her this remarkable ability to find information and find it quickly. And I can tell you at the end of her first year of study, she's remarkably well placed to go into the co-op program and even further down the line, land something really, really interesting once the 4-year degree program is up. Now, perhaps James could speak a little bit to the co-op programs from his perspective and the perspective of some of the people he's in the program with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Professor Edinger. So I think any work experience that I've ever been given or any internship opportunity I've ever been given, I haven't actually gone about getting that through the school. So I think, we're in Ottawa, we're in the nation's capital. There's plenty of opportunities. If you want to get involved and if you want to work, there's going to be an opportunity there for you. Go out, knock on doors in terms of connecting with people, connect with politicians, or connect with people in the public service, and opportunities will just come towards you. That's great. But there's also the internship and co-op kind of thing through Carleton. I've never experienced that, but a lot of my peers and colleagues have had great opportunities through the school. They've gotten to go and work in the bureaucracy through Carleton. I have friends that work at Global Affairs Canada, which is really interesting for everyone involved in international politics. I have friends that have that work in the Treasury Board and the Minister of Finance, the ministry rather, who are in economics. So there's really all sorts of things you can do. If you want to go more into the political side, I mean, I can speak more about that. You could always reach out to a member of parliament or join a club on campus, and they'll help you connect with a political party or a member of parliament on Parliament Hill to help you get involved. But like I said, Ottawa's, in Carleton especially, is a great context to be studying in because we're so close to the actual action. All I have to do is take a bus 10 minutes down the street, and I am at the center of power in Canada. And there's always plenty of opportunities for students to get involved here. If you want an opportunity, go out, make it happen, and great things will come from it.
And if I hop in,
for sure.
The standard answer to questions like, what jobs can I get at the end of the line here is, we could list them all, right? You could do the public sector, you could do the private sector. But let me give you a sense of what students of mine have actually ended up in over the years. Or at least begin with me. After I finished my undergraduate degree, I ended up getting work in in political consulting, which is not necessarily in the same way that perhaps James works in, but I worked as a public engagement consultant in the private sector, being employed by the Ministry of Health in Ontario, and that was a real eye-opener. Other students of mine have gone on to do political design work, gone into design programs to supplement a political science degree, and now do political marketing. One of my favorite stories is of a student who ended up working for a big intergovernmental organization in the Caribbean. Right, so now he lives in St. Lucia doing intergovernmental work for CARICOM, the Caribbean community. I mean, the opportunities go very, very far and very, very wide. And your ability to, sniff out these opportunities, as James said, and leverage them is what's going to get you, land you that dream job at the end of the day.
We're having a great conversation with Professor Edinger and James Prowse, who's a third-year political science student, and we are inviting you to ask your questions by utilizing the live event Q&A. There's a lot of really great action happening there, and we thank you for your attendance and hope you'll keep those questions coming. I'm going to put James back into the focus because there was a question for you, James, and this question was touching on your kind of law background. And in what ways did your law classes help you in your political science program, and vice versa? Did you find any overlap in the content or the types of opportunities that present themselves through those courses?
Yeah, thank you. And I think as a political science student, a lot of us want to go into law school after. So I certainly want to go into law school. So I kind of wanted to take some courses to potentially help me prepare for that. But Professor Edinger also often talks about, when he talks about political science, he talks about it's the study of power. And I think political science, yes, is the study of power. And I think law complements that by studying how the state kind of enforces that power or exerts that power over people. So I think there's, to answer the question on a more basic level, there's plenty of overlap. We, in political science and democracy and theory and practice, we talk a lot about the lawmaking mechanism in Canada and how that law is enforced. And then in international relations or global politics, we kind of talk about broader issues around the world. And I think in law and legal studies, studying those sorts of issues more specifically provides you a great kind of theoretical or a practical toolbox to respond to big questions in democracy and theory, as well as global politics, and vice versa. The ability to critically think and to kind of formulate a convincing argument that is really developed in the two anchor courses in first-year political science are really foundational in helping students succeed in law courses, law and legal studies courses. Because it helps you, form the foundations of a great argument. So personally, I think the two are intertwined. I use concepts in both of the classes and cross courses rather every single day. I'm taking multiple political science courses right now, multiple laws courses. And sometimes, some weeks the lecture content is literally the exact same. So they're very much intertwined. Law and legal studies is a great minor as well, and it's only there to help you fully understand your degree better.
That's awesome. I think we've come to the end of the live portion of our event. But folks, we will stay online with you over the next few minutes to, again, answer more of the questions you may have. So please don't hesitate to ask those questions in our live event Q&A. I want to thank James, who you're seeing on screen right now, and Professor Edinger, who did a great job of not only describing that first year content, but also talking a bit more about where your degree can take you, where political science can take you, both academically, but also from a career perspective. So I want to thank both of you for your time and for sharing your stories tonight. And I want to invite everyone to tune in to tomorrow's FPA Virtual Lounge, where we'll be featuring our Communication and Media Studies program. So big thanks to all of our attendees. I hope you all have a great evening, and we hope to see you at Carleton next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.